Africa is changing. The winds of transformation are sweeping across the continent, bringing with them a renewed sense of hope and possibility. For decades, the narrative of land ownership in Africa has been dominated by foreign interests and a select few wealthy elites. These powerful entities have held sway over vast tracts of fertile land, often to the detriment of local communities and indigenous populations. For many years, foreign companies and a few wealthy elites controlled most of the land. This concentration of land ownership has led to significant disparities in wealth and opportunity, with many Africans finding themselves marginalized and disenfranchised in their own countries. The land, which should have been a source of sustenance and prosperity for local communities, instead became a symbol of inequality and exploitation. Now, countries like Burkina Faso and Zimbabwe are taking a stand. They are spearheading a movement to reclaim their land and restore it to the rightful owners, the people. These nations are implementing bold and ambitious land reform policies aimed at redistributing land to local farmers and communities. This shift represents a significant departure from the status quo and is a testament to the resilience and determination of African nations to chart their own course. They are changing their laws to give land back to their people. This process is not without its challenges, as it involves navigating complex legal frameworks and overcoming entrenched interests. However, the benefits of these reforms are already becoming evident. Local farmers are gaining access to land that they can cultivate and call their own, leading to increased agricultural productivity and improved livelihoods. These land reforms are controversial, but they are important for understanding the struggle for equality and justice in Africa. The path to equitable land distribution is fraught with obstacles, including legal battles, political opposition, and social tensions. Yet these reforms are crucial for addressing historical injustices and creating a more just and inclusive society. They represent a bold step towards rectifying the imbalances of the past and ensuring a fairer future for all Africans. For many Africans, land is about more than just money. It is deeply intertwined with their identity, heritage, and way of life. The land holds cultural and spiritual significance, serving as a link to their ancestors and a foundation for their communities. By reclaiming their land, Africans are not only securing their economic future, but also preserving their cultural legacy and strengthening their social fabric. It is about their history, their culture, and their future. The land is a living testament to the rich and diverse history of Africa, and its reclamation is a powerful act of self-determination. As communities come together to celebrate their newfound ownership, they are also laying the groundwork for future generations to thrive. The children playing in the fields today will grow up with a sense of pride and ownership, knowing that the land they inherit is truly theirs. These reforms are a sign of hope for a continent that has been exploited for too long. They symbolize a break from the past and a commitment to a brighter future. The smiles on the faces of African farmers and the celebrations in communities across the continent are a testament to the positive impact of these changes. As land is returned to its rightful owners, there is a renewed sense of optimism and possibility. They are a reminder that people have the power to change their own destiny. The journey towards land reform is ongoing, and there is still much work to be done. However, the progress made so far is a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience of the African people. By reclaiming their land, they are taking control of their future and asserting their right to self-determination. This new dawn for land ownership in Africa is a testament to the enduring spirit of its people and their unwavering commitment to justice and equality. In February 2025, Burkina Faso made a bold move. The country, known for its rich cultural heritage and resilient people, decided it was time to take control of its own destiny. This decision was not made lightly, but it was seen as a necessary step to ensure the future prosperity and independence of the nation. The government, led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, changed the laws about who can own land. Captain Traoré, a charismatic and determined leader, had long been an advocate for national sovereignty and economic self-sufficiency. His administration believed that the control of land was crucial for the country's development and the well-being of its citizens. They said, "No more foreign landowners." This bold proclamation was met with both applause and criticism. Supporters saw it as a reclaiming of national pride and resources. while detractors worried about the potential economic repercussions and the reaction of the international community. This was a big deal. For a long time, companies from other countries had been buying up large pieces of land in Burkina Faso. These foreign entities often had the financial power to outbid local farmers, leading to a significant portion of the country's arable land being owned by outsiders. They used this land to grow crops like cotton and sugar, which they then sold for a profit overseas. This practice not only drained the country's natural resources, but also meant that the profits from these agricultural ventures rarely benefited the local economy. This left less land for the people of Burkina Faso to farm and make a living. Local farmers struggled to compete with the large-scale operations of foreign companies, and many found themselves pushed to the margins, both economically and geographically. The government's decision to ban foreign land ownership was a way of saying that Burkina Faso's land belongs to its people. It was a declaration of independence, a statement that the country's resources should be used to benefit its own citizens first and foremost. This move aimed to empower local farmers, boost the national economy, and ensure that the wealth generated from the land stayed within Burkina Faso. The hope was that this policy would lead to a more equitable distribution of land and resources, fostering a sense of pride and ownership among the people of Burkina Faso. Instead of just taking the land back, Burkina Faso's government came up with a plan. They decided to lease the land to people who wanted to farm it. This means that people can use the land for a long time, up to 99 years, but they don't actually own it. The government still owns the land. This way, the government can make sure that the land is being used fairly and that everyone has a chance to benefit from it. Zimbabwe's story is different from Burkina Faso's, but they both share a history of unfair land distribution. In the early 1900s, when Zimbabwe was still called Rhodesia and was ruled by a white minority government, laws were passed that stopped black Africans from owning the best farmland. This created a system where a small number of white farmers owned huge farms, while millions of black Zimbabweans were forced to live in poverty on small, overcrowded pieces of land. This system was deeply unfair and caused a lot of anger and resentment. Section 5, the fast-track land reform, a controversial move. When Zimbabwe finally gained independence in 1980, there was a lot of pressure to give the land back to the black majority. But the government was slow to act. Then, in the year 2000, things changed dramatically. Frustrated by the slow pace of reform, groups of war veterans who had fought for Zimbabwe's independence started occupying white-owned farms by force. This was the start of Zimbabwe's fast-track land reform program, a controversial policy that saw thousands of white farmers evicted from their land. Section 6, Economic Fallout, Sanctions Bite Zimbabwe. The fast-track land reform program in Zimbabwe caused a lot of problems. Some people say it was necessary to correct historical injustices. Others argue that it was too violent and chaotic and that it damaged Zimbabwe's economy. Many Western countries, like the United States and those in Europe, were angry about the land seizures. They imposed sanctions on Zimbabwe, which are like punishments that make it harder for a country to trade with other countries. These sanctions had a very negative impact on Zimbabwe's economy. Section 7, two countries, two paths to land reform. Burkina Faso and Zimbabwe are two African countries trying to fix the same problem, unfair land distribution, but they are going about it in very different ways. Burkina Faso is using a more peaceful and legal approach, focusing on leasing land instead of taking it by force. Zimbabwe's approach has been more confrontational, with land seizures and political turmoil. Section 8, International Condemnation and Support. The land reforms in both countries have attracted a lot of attention from the international community. Some countries have criticized the reforms, saying that they are unfair to white farmers and that they will discourage investment in Africa. Other countries have been more understanding, recognizing the historical injustices that led to the unequal land distribution in the first place. Section 9, Land Rights and the Future of Africa. The land reforms in Burkina Faso and Zimbabwe are part of a bigger story about land rights in Africa. These reforms are not just about redistributing land, they are about reclaiming a sense of identity and autonomy that has been eroded over centuries of colonial rule and exploitation. The land is more than just soil and crops. It is the foundation of culture, community, and economic stability. For many years, African countries have struggled to control their own resources and to make sure that the benefits of their land are shared fairly among all their people. This struggle has been marked by numerous challenges, including political instability, corruption, and external pressures from multinational corporations and foreign governments. Despite these obstacles, communities have continued to fight for their rights, often at great personal risk. The reforms in Burkina Faso and Zimbabwe, while imperfect, are a sign that African countries are no longer willing to accept the status quo. These changes are driven by a growing awareness among the people that they deserve better. They are demanding transparency, accountability, and a fair distribution of resources. The reforms are also a testament to the resilience and determination of African communities to shape their own futures. They are a sign that Africa is changing and that the people of Africa are demanding a fairer share of their own land. This movement is not just about land, it is about justice, dignity, and the right to self-determination. As these reforms continue to unfold, they offer hope for a future where African nations can thrive on their own terms, with their people reaping the benefits of their rich and diverse lands. The journey is far from over, but the progress made so far is a powerful reminder of what can be achieved when communities come together to fight for their rights.